Good morning, all. I want to thank you all for attending. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for being here this morning, always present. And I want to recognize them first off with our chairman, Mr. Tyrone Nelson from the Varina District, Vice Chair Dan Schmidt from the Brooklyn District, Mr. Roscoe Cooper from the Fairfield District, Misty Roundtree from the Three Chop District, and Jody Rogish from the Tuckahoe District. You know, we're going to do this as we go through, so let's start practicing. Can we give them a round of applause? So you see all these folks with cameras and all the technology. That's Ben Shepard and Public Relations. I want to thank that group for being everywhere and doing everything, and especially this morning. I know you got here early. We have two budget analysts that have been working for months on this presentation that you're going to see, and they are Alex Siebold and Chris Addison. A lot of young folks in our workforce. We've got the best budget department in the whole state. Can you give them a round of applause? So I want to thank our dream team of leaders that you will hear from this morning for their work in representing our county. I also want to thank Dr. Amy Cashwell for our partnership and work as we traverse through another budget, another year of planning. I want to thank you, Dr. Cashwell, and I know you've got three members of the school board here. You've got Marcy Shea, Christy Kinsella, and Miss Atkins that are all present this morning. Can we give them a round of applause? So this morning, you are going to hear from just some of the stars that we have on staff. And I want to set the stage for them and you, because while today is an annual report out to the community, it also represents a continuation of effort, of heart for others. Henrico County is blessed. Our organization is blessed. Tuesday of this week, we dedicated the state's largest reservoir, effectively taking care of our water needs for the next century plus. That was a 22-year planning effort that happened this week. Our planning and organizational execution, this is our DNA. By performing the routine functions of government well, consistently, with muscle memory, we do things like pave the roads, we pick up the trash, we clean the parks, we fix the sewers, we help the customer, we pay our bills on time, every time, we answer calls for service, we answer calls for distress, we help those in need. And we do this over and over and over again, and we do it really, really well. When you have reached a point when you can do the routine functions of government well, and you are recognized by third parties through multiple accreditations, and this year, you're going to hear Dr. Cashwell talk about the Forbes rating is the best in state employer that the school system received for the second year in a row. Well, this year, general government also received it, making it the only locality in the Commonwealth that has that distinction. So when you do things well with empathy, then we find ourselves, our Board of Supervisors can work towards the really, really hard work of government that few venture to because it is difficult. And what do I mean? I mean focusing on affordable housing, mental health, particularly for our students, homelessness, addiction and recovery, environmental stewardship, and forever preservation of open spaces. You know, think of Runnymede. I think of Tyrone Edward Nelson, who started this in Varina. And it started with Malvern Hill, and then it moved to Wilton Farm. And at Wilton, you recall, we walked. And then, Dan, you were part of that. And then ultimately, this board brought in Varina Farm. Those are forever preservation places. And now you're going to hear Dr. Cashwell talk about one of the largest living buildings in the world being placed on that location at Wilton because of that walk that Mr. Nelson took one morning. That's what I'm talking about. So today's presentation we're referring to is on another level because it recognizes extraordinary public service. Again, there are a couple quotes I want to share with you. The first one is a little bit dated, but it may capture the heart of an organization that at its core is entrepreneurial and is not _ risk averse. It comes from Teddy Roosevelt. And it goes like this. It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done it differently. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with sweat and dust and blood, who strives valiantly, who comes up short again and again and again, who in the end may know the triumph of high achievement, and who, when he fails, he does so daring greatly. Or even more contemporary, our own Arthur Ashe famously said, "Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can." So I get a little emotional thinking about these prior efforts because they do represent our workforce. If you think about the school nurses that we employed at mass vaccination events during COVID, I think of board members riding buggies, literally picking up the oldest, the frail, for their first vaccination, and everybody waited their turn. Monica, I remember you directing traffic, doing so many things. I remember Jackson Baynard leading an effort, not as the fire chief, but as a battalion chief that ultimately led us through COVID. I see the utility worker, wet and drained, at 1 a.m. in January, fixing a water pipe so that you have water in the morning when you wake up. I see the firefighter, the police officer, the EMT on the scene of an accident, rendering aid and controlling their emotions. This past weekend, perhaps it was last weekend, Misty Roundtree sent us all a note, and it really hit home with me. And we were talking about a public safety incident that had occurred, and you made the comment, "I had no idea the emotional toll that this work takes on the employees and us." And you're absolutely right. And that needs to be recognized. So I wanted to share that as far as a backdrop for the presentation that you're going to see and set the tone. As we traverse into 2025, in a couple of weeks in this building, we are going to recognize several agency heads and many dedicated employees who have announced their retirement. But ladies and gentlemen, great organizations transition well. They always do. And I expect 2025 will continue to be a year of transition for a workforce that will continue to serve our residents with heart. And with the guidance of the Board of Supervisors, we will get through all of that.